Locarno, welcome to the screening of the modern classic Robocop, directed by the legendary director Paul Verhoeven. For me, it's a pleasure and an honor to let introduce the movie from another legend, the brilliant mind behind the special effect, Phil Tippett.
The producer of Robocop is a friend of mine. We met on Piranha, and he's a big fan of stop motion. And so on Robocop, he hired me to do the robot as a stop motion thing. And I did, and I've got these weird memory lapses. Where was I?
Talking about the contribution of you
So in pre-production, we would go through iterations on what Ed 209 looked like. And as soon as Paul saw something, you know, it would be, that was it. That's what we're going to use. And so, for instance, for the boardroom scene, there would have been a lot of overlap that would have between Dick Jones and the was standing in front of the 209, and I did not want to, you know, have to do a blue screen, you know, and everybody was very happy I didn't want to do that because that would have taken a lot of time. It wouldn't have looked as good. And so what I proposed to Paul was that we build a full-scale prop and we work around. All the ambulatory shots are stop motion, and then the close-up is this static prop. So when Ed comes in, bonk, 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 it powers down, then we switch to the prop, the full-scale prop. That's how we put the scene together. And Paul, well, and then I told Paul, so what we do is when the robot comes out and stops, we keep the character alive by like a very bass pedal note. And that kept the character present, you know, as like a threatening thing. And so Paul totally bought into that. And, you know, if you could explain something simply to Paul, which is what I generally do. I don't really pontificate unless I'm doing something like this. And so, you know, he totally bought the sound I was talking about. And then John Davison was the voice of Ed 209. He just pitch shifted it down. And that's how we went about doing it, you know? And because the budget wasn't so great on that, and so we had to really economize as much as possible. So, and it was Paul's first U.S. film, you know, so he was in uncharted territory, and he had never done visual effects before. So he, you know, leaned on me quite a bit. Paul has a reputation for intimidating people, and he's kind of like Hannibal Lecter. He's really amazingly perceptive, and instead of being frank about something, if he doesn't understand it, where was I? Yeah, I know, I'm trying to think which way to attack it. Yeah, so he can be very intimidating, but that was never the case with me. And we got along really well, except for a few occasions. There was one when we were shooting Starship Troopers. I was insisting on more takes because I had to make sure all the eye lines were right and the gunfire was pointing in the right direction. And
I think, I mean, let's people see the movie. Robocop is going to be shown.
Let me finish the thought.
Yeah, please.
What was I?
Take your time, no problem.
I'm on this medication for being bipolar, and it's just made my brain, fart. And so Paul and I got along famous. He analogized, our relationship as if he was a symphony conductor, I would be the first violin for a violin concerto. And so what the conductor would do is just make sure that person had everything that they needed to do the best job they could. And, support, it's a solo thing, so support the movie. And so that's what we did, And one time we were shooting something and I insisted on more takes. And Paul said, "You're making me very angry." And I said, "Paul, you have two choices, either to be angry at me now, or once I start putting the shots together and you're not happy, then it's your fault." And he got a little bit pissed off, but and it was a time issue. It wasn't an aesthetic issue, so I had to accommodate that. So,
You make a great job. I mean, Robocop is a masterpiece. It's a cult movie now, no?
Yeah.
Thank you to you, man.
Yeah, when we screened it at the Academy, you don't see these things until, they're done, and it was the best robot movie ever made.
Yeah. You can say that, for sure.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Phil, and let's start the movie.